Our next speaker, principal speaker, is the Group Executive Director of the ARA Group from Malaysia. Please welcome Tan Sri Datuk Ravindran Menon.
Very good afternoon, Mr. Pius Gupta, the chair of today's session. Ambassador Gopinath Pillai, office bearers of ISAS, distinguished guests, friends, ladies and gentlemen. I think my previous speaker has inspired the hall, so I need to now see how I'm going to make this work. I'll try. Mr. Menon, I may not be as good as you, but I'll try. Okay. So anyway, I think as I stare at this audience today, the topic given to us was catalyst for change. I think I see catalysts staring at me. All of you, you are the catalyst for change. Because it's easier said than done. But having said that, I see that so many of you eagerly waiting to see what we're going to say. So I want to just share a story of my own, catalyst for change. And I thought that was a nice topic to talk about today. As I sat in the morning sessions in the plenary, I was listening to many of those distinguished speakers. And one of those things that I kept hearing is bankable projects. We talk about bankable projects. And they say there's a lot of money in the market. There's not enough bankable projects to come around. I think sometimes you need to create those bankable projects. And I want to quickly talk about a story that I've been through. In 2007, I used to drive past. I'm from Kuala Lumpur, by the way, and I'm sure a lot of you know where Kuala Lumpur is. And you know, I used to drive around this old Malaysian airport, which was almost haunted, dilapidated, broken down. So I looked at it, and there's a 747 runway sitting just behind it. And I told myself, what was the government going to do with this airport? Because we've just built a new airport for 9 billion ringgit in Sepang. And they said they were going to convert that into a bus terminus. And I said, what? Bus terminus? Yeah, bus terminus. We want to do all those outstation buses out of Subang. So I thought that was going to be a sheer waste, because when you have a 747 runway sitting behind there, and we were to convert that into a bus terminal, sometimes even God may not forgive you. So I took the opportunity to go to the government and tell the government, guys, wake up. Can we do something better with this facility? So I walked in one night. They were playing badminton, cooking some food, and this is what they were doing with the old terminal. So I put a proposal back to the government, and I said, hey guys, let me reinvent this terminal. Because Subang, to people in the aviation industry, is a known name. We have been there for more than 30 years. So I made a presentation to the then Deputy Prime Minister of the country. And I said, sir, would you give us this opportunity to bring this back to its old glorious days? I made 3 presentations, and on the 4th presentation, the Prime Minister said, okay, go ahead. I think it makes sense. So we went ahead building this terminal, rebuilding it. It was already there. And I spent 45 million ringgit. Now, who says banks don't lend you money? Of course, I walked to almost every bank in Kuala Lumpur. But finally, one bank bought my story. And I fully funded this terminal, 45 million ringgit, opened it in 2009 with 30,000 passengers. And a lot of my dear friends who cared for me told me, Ravi Menon, this is going to be a Waterloo, because nothing there, and you want to try and run an airport. And you know, airport was not my business. I build trains for a living. I'm Bombardier's partner in Malaysia. I do LRTs, and we sell the most amount of LRTs in Kuala Lumpur as of now. But I said, let me try. So we started this. Today, We do 3 million over passengers. We do 140 flights a day. And if I want to come to Singapore at short notice, I just walk down, get into a turboprop and fly into Singapore. Of course, it takes 15 minutes or 20 minutes more than your normal Boeings or Airbuses, but it serves the purpose. What have I done with that place? I then went to another bank and I said, guys, I want to build hangars for private jets because Singapore was always noted to be ahead of us in corporate aviation. So we went there, we got 30 acres of land, another piece of land, because remember, the airport had 1,500 to 2,000 acres just lying there, not being used. I said, we should do something with this. I went there, I invested another 80 million ringgit from another bank, and we built hangars. And today, I'm very proud to say that Malaysia has got about 56 jet owners, and more than 50% of them park with us, and we look after these jets. This is how we bring value to the table. You never say you can't do this. Otherwise, it would have been a bus terminal, and I don't know what they would have done with that 747 runway. Maybe it would have been a racetrack or something, for motorcyclists or something like that. But today, we operate this. And what we also did was, we have made this the Aerospace Development Center in Kuala Lumpur. We have international companies coming there to set up office. We are now part of what you call the Malaysian International Aerospace Center. 3,000 over. Three million passengers, heading towards 5 million in 2 years. And then came the issue. Toilets breaking down, air conditions can't cope, because that terminal was designed for 1.5 million passengers. Today we do 3.1. So I went back to the main concessionaire, Malaysian Airports, and said, guys, can we invest some money to redo the Terminal 2, which used to be the old KL Singapore shuttle terminal? We've just got the approval to build Terminal 2. We're going to spend 100 million, and it's going to be one of the best things that have happened. Because our tagline, Subang Sky Park, says, above all convenience. I wouldn't want to go to an airport far, far away just to fly to Penang or Singapore. I'd rather take my car from home and drive straight to the destination. So it's about convenience. It's about adding value. And then I went to the government, I said, sir, I told the minister, we have this airport, but we are not connected by a rail line. Can you please fund us with a rail line connectivity? Yes, and they did. We got 500 million ringgit from the government, and today a rail line is being built, and it'll be completed in February. So anybody who flies into Subang can jump onto a train and get to Central in just 25 minutes. So this is what you say, how you take advantage of assets. Governments around the world have a lot of assets that are sitting. I talk about India in particular. I'm bidding for some jobs in India. They have airports, nothing is happening. This airport is the same story, no different. So we built the first terminal, we built the second terminal, and what? The icing on the cake, a shopping mall with a hotel, with a mini convention center connected to the rail line. Today, Subang has become such a destination. We are a destination airport. And the government has been very kind, because just behind my airport, there's 2,000 acres that belongs to the Employers' Provident Fund. It's called Kwasa land. So that whole development is taking shape. I remember my first interview with a newspaper, and they said, Mr. Menon, this is what you call the ghost town. I think today we have got all the ghosts away. It's full of human beings. So what I'm trying to say is, we need to take advantage of this kind of assets. And I also want to tell you, I didn't have any money to do this. And when you say banks don't fund you, I also disagree. But I think it has to be bankable projects. That's what we kept hearing this morning. How do you make something bankable? How do you tell them that this can work? Of course, you need to be convinced first. And then the bankers will get convinced. But you don't give up either. You don't give up either. So today, Subang has become such a very important airport. And then I went to the government and I said, I want to have one of the best FBOs that Asia can find. I spent a couple of million ringgit and I built this nice FBO. My FBO even has a gym, resting room for a crew. We have everything that a traveler on a private jet would want to, right? So today, from 2 to 3 flights a day, we have almost an average of 30 private jet movements in Kuala Lumpur. I will be proud in saying that I'd like to thank the Malaysian government first, and secondly, proud to say that we managed to do this in a place which was going to be turned into a nice bus stand. So this is what you do, you try and look at opportunities, you try, keep fighting the cause, you keep knocking on the doors of the bank. I know Mr. Piyush runs the biggest bank in Singapore. Piyush, sorry. But you got to keep knocking on them and someone will believe in you. And once they have believed in you, I think there is no turning back. And that's what the banks have done for us. Today, Subang has become such a busy place. I think Malaysian airports, who are the main airport operators, are worried that if they give me more space, I might just be challenging the new KLIA too, because the numbers have just grown. It's a convenient airport. And when you talk about this airports, you talk about one thing. You talk about what you call the 3 C's. Connectivity, convenience. Anybody to say the next one? No? Connectivity, convenience, and cost. My friends keep joking with me, are you like Tony, low cost? No, I'm not low cost. I don't want to be low cost. I can't be flying private jets on one end of the terminal and running a community airline. So we are what you call a community airport. I'm there to serve the community, and so we are called a community airport, and hence Firefly, the airline that operates from there, is called the community airline. So we're not low cost, because it's not very cheap to fly from Subang, but at the same time, the convenience, the amount of money you pay to the toll operator, the amount of money, the amount of time you waste sitting in the traffic jams. This is what Subang has become today. So somebody asked me this morning, I think that was a question on the stage, from the flow. They said, the event today is all about South Asian diaspora. What link or what connection has this got to the diaspora? What I'm trying to say is, I think this is places where we meet. We talk about how this kind of examples can be actually done in other countries in South Asia, South Asia. And we are now, after taking this model, making it successful, Malaysia has now formed what you call the Malaysian Aviation Commission. The Aviation Commission now says, I think all the small airports, destination airports, should be given to private parties. At least we have got them to open their eye. There's an opportunity that's standing in front of you. Because I can tell you for one, I'm not here to compete with the Changi's of the world, with the Malaysian airports of this world, GVK, GMR. We are just operators doing about 10, 15 million. And there's money to be made, because when you put all these things together, then you see the value. And then you add one by one. So we did with one terminal, we went to second terminal, we went to this jet operation business, and then we now go to the shopping mall. And what do you do next? You connect it with the rail line. And today the government thinks that they should actually extend. We are telling the government to extend the line to Kuala Damansara, which is another 6 kilometers, because that's where the 2 MRTs that we are building, the Malaysian government has a station. 2 million passengers use the MRT when it's functional in January next year. So I think opportunities. This is what you need to look at. You can't be sitting there and saying this won't work, that won't work. and everything won't work, because eventually you yourself may not work, because you need to really get there and start looking at thinking out of the box, they say. Sometimes you need to. Of course, I started thinking out of the box in India. It was not so easy. It was difficult. I went to some agencies in India. We're still bidding. But I think the Malaysian government was an easier customer, honestly. I like to thank the Malaysian government in this instance, because I think they are open to this kind of ideas. And I'm just hoping that in time to come, I have my friend Tan Sri A.K. Nathan, who is here in our midst, who's also working in India. I think we all can write books about working in India, but Tan Sri, let's not give up. Let's keep pushing. And I tell you, one day the doors will open. So I think basically what I then did was I decided that we should do something for the society. So I used a very similar approach in one of the organizations which I used to be a president, which has been there for many, many years, same like the Subang Airport. And we kind of re-energized that NGO, because like my previous speaker said, it's just not about business, business, business. There should be what you call giving back to the society as well. And I think I, for one, am very particular about this. And I am a Malayali by birth, and we have a decent amount of Malayalis in Malaysia. The president of the NGO that I used to be is in our midst today, Datuk Sushila. And I decided to do something for the thing. And we used a very similar thing, you know, old organization, not going anywhere. We said we needed to inject some new blood, new life into it. Change for catalyst. Catalyst for change. We need to think differently. You become a catalyst from wherever you're sitting down. That's what I said in my opening remark, that I'm staring at all the catalysts here. Every one of you can make the difference that we have all made. It's not so difficult. But you have to keep pushing. And that's exactly what Mr. Menon said. And ladies and gentlemen, with this, I like to thank once again ISAS for giving me this opportunity, and to all of you for hearing me out. Thank you, and have a great afternoon.